Somewhere in the world, somewhere in Europe, in Greece, there is an island called Lefkas. Surrounded by the Ionian Sea, beyond the west coast of the main country, amidst 6 more islands, 6 precious jewels, all of them emerald green, Lefkas is the home of poets and legend. Up to the historical times, the island was united with the mainland at Acarnania. In the 7th century BC, the Corinthians, with whom Lefkas had contracted an alliance, dug up a canal, 100 meters wide. At first, communication with the mainland was carried out by means of perataria, a wooden barge, and later on by a small ferry. Today, communication is easier. There is a big movable bridge which opens up every hour on the hour for the boats to get through. One can reach Lefkas from the mainland by car, from the sea by boat, from the air by plane. There is an airport a few kilometers off the island at Actium, near Preveza. The town of Lefkas lies beside a lagoon that spreads out and up towards the slopes of an olive grove, which colors half of the island silver green. The main street of the picturesque town, shops of all kinds, restaurants, tavernas, pastry shops, bars, cafes, and of course, tourist shops. Looking at the architecture of the houses, the wooden arcades, the narrow cobble streets, one notices the influence of the elegant Venetian style. Good taste and beauty are to be seen everywhere. Lefkadians, lovers of tradition and progress alike, have managed to preserve the special character of their place. The traditional architecture is preserved in every new structure. The tiles on the roofs, the wooden window shutters, the outside staircases, the flowers, all beautiful houses, the main square and its siesta time. the cobblestone streets. Knocker and decorated front door of an old house. Beautifully cast iron bars on the balcony, the work of an unknown local artist. Another knocker, and another. The town of Lefkas was founded by the Corinthians. During that period, Athens, Sparta, and the rest of the powerful states of ancient Greece, including Corinth, of course, were founding colonies to use them as allies. The historian Strabon wrote that Lefkas was the name given by Corinth to the town Nirikos. The word Lefkas in Greek comes from the adjective lefki, meaning white. Originally, that was the name of the cape at the south end of the island, still called Lefkatas. Every August, Lefkada becomes a pole of attraction for both Greeks and foreign tourists. The municipal cultural center organizes festivals of art and literature, including theater, music, and dance performances, as well as painting exhibits. These festivities are crowned with the appearance of folklore dancing groups from Europe, Africa, Asia, America, from all over the world. Once a year, Lefkas becomes a truly international island. cultural associations and societies are the carriers of the artistic and cultural life of the island. Flowers. Flowers of all kinds everywhere. In the town, in every village, everywhere on the island, from the top of the mountains to the very end of the coastline. In Anthonas, the small park near the sea, one can see the busts of the spiritual children of Lefkas. The poetess Kleareti Lipla Malamu. Lefkadius Hearn, the national poet of Japan. His Japanese name is Yakumi Koizumi. The poet Aristotelis Valoritis. Once, as a representative of the 7 islands in the Greek parliament, when an opponent accused the everyday Greek language as being vulgar, he answered, "There is no vulgar language, just vulgar people." The poet Angelos Sikelianos. During the German occupation, when the great Greek poet Kostis Palamas died, and the Greeks, despite the prohibition of the occupational forces, overwhelmed all of Athens with the sheer number and intensity of those attending the funeral, Sikelianos, bidding farewell to the dead friend, finished with his thundering voice, saying, "Greece is leaning against this coffin today." And life goes on every day, on the streets, the squares, on the beaches. Visitors from all parts of the world come to this small paradise, giving everyone the chance to rediscover what citizens of the world's bigger cities have lost forever. Simple life. The joy of life in every corner of the island, by the seaside and on the mountains, at every village, but also at the touristic and cosmopolitan villages of Vasiliki, Nidri, and the town itself. Crystal clear sea, bays and small harbors. Long and small beautiful beaches, golden sand. Lefkadians, like all the inhabitants of the 7 islands, love music and singing. Serenades are often heard in the narrow streets, the ruyas, sung by old and young alike. Sometimes the people of the sea soften a hard day's work by singing a barcarolle. Nightlife on the island cannot compete with that of other highly developed tourist places. There are, of course, discos for those who prefer dancing, bars, restaurants, tavernas that stay open very late or even till dawn. Open-air cinemas are fun, and one can see the latest production of the international film industry. As the centuries went by since the Stone Age, Lefkas left its own traces in the history of our world, and history also marked Lefkas. In 625 BC, the inhabitants of the island came into conflict with the Acarnanians. They asked for help from the Corinthians, who sent army and colonies, and later on separated Lefkas from Acarnania, cutting off the small isthmus joining them. Since then, Lefkas followed the fate of Corinth during the Greek-Persian Wars and during the great wars between Athens, Sparta and Corinth. In the middle of the 4th century, after the Battle of Heronia, Philip of Macedonia conquered Lefkas. After the death of his son, Alexander the Great, Lefkas got under the authority of King Pyrrhus. When Pyrrhus died, the island joined the Acarnanian Confederacy. In 197 BC, the island was besieged and fell in the hands of the Romans. In 31 BC, after the naval battle of Actio, the Roman general Octavius, the victor of Antonius and Cleopatra, built Nicopolis in Epirus, the city of the victor, in remembrance of this very victory. Many of the inhabitants of the island were forced to go and live in the new town. The island was never left in peace. Normandy, Pisa, Naples, Turkey, Venice, Turkey again, France, Russians, Turks, Imperial France sent occupational armies. And that till 1810. From 1810 to 1864, Lefkas, along with the rest of the islands of the Ionian Sea, fell under British rule. In May 1864, all Ionian islands, including Lefkada, were united with Greece. Honey from Lefkas, such a sweet smell. Almond candy, sesame cake. Famous embroideries needled the traditional way, and articles woven in the loom, following the same style and the same designs passed on from generation to generation. Memories, old articles, beloved objects, valued for their uniqueness, the unsurpassed artistry of the artisan and time, assembled by the love of the Lefkadian collector. The Gramophone Museum. Everywhere on the island, hotels, picturesque and clean houses, flats or rooms offer to the tourist comfort and the traditional hospitality. Nirikos, and Lefkas in town. Konaki in Lya. Ducato. Alexandros. Sunrise. Portogallini, in Nichiana. Right next to the sea, next to the sandy beaches, and green, green everywhere. Nostos. Σκορπιός, in Περιάνη. Nidri Beach. Athos, in Nidri. Vasiliki, a beautiful town on the west coast of the island, sheltered by green hills covered with olive trees. Safe port for small boats, and around the port, shops and restaurants, the tables laid out under shady trees. Hotel Apollon. On the long sandy beach and in the shallow waters, surfers enjoy the sport. For those who want to learn it, there is a school. Green everywhere, and blue and white paintbrush strokes, the houses. Hotel Ponty Beach. Ferry boats and sailboats carry visitors to the nearby small islands, to Cephalonia, to Ithaca, and to the secret beaches of the island, not approachable from the main roads. The small fishing village, St. Nikitas, spreading from the sea, climbs to the nearby hillside. Hotel Odyssey. St. Nikitas. Austria. Hotel Adani in Tsoukalades. In every hotel, they organize Lefkadian nights with Greek dances and singing that end up in a great feast. The island covers an area of about 500 square kilometers. Its length from one end to the other is more than 35 kilometers, while its width is only 15 kilometers. All along the coastline, the sea is forming smaller or bigger fjords. Some wait to be discovered by the tourists, while others can easily be reached, like the long sandy beaches of Athani, Porto Katsiki, Kathisma, St. Nikitas, St. John, Gira, kilometer after kilometer of clean golden sand. Near Lefkas, there are other smaller islands: Meganisi, Sparti, Kastos, Maduri, Skorpios, and others, green, all of them with small bays and beautiful sandy beaches. Sivota, the bay resembles a big lake, offering security. And right by the seaside, where the waves break, there are restaurants, tavernas, and refreshment stands. Poros. The big blue sea of Poros embraces the small bay. Porto Katsiki. Steep, impressive cliffs surround the golden beach. Lefkadas. The town and the whole island was named after this cape. There was a temple of Apollo here, and in very old times, human sacrifices were taking place. It was from here that the lyric poetess Sappho threw herself into the sea for the love of the handsome faun. The endless beach of St. John. The fishing villages of Lia and Nikiana, very near the town. Their beautiful harbors offer protection to all kinds of boats, mainly fishing boats. In the tavernas one can find fresh fish, local specialties, and the famous local wine. A beautiful sight. The departure of the fishermen. Vlicho and Nidri spread out around the picturesque bay. Stores of all kinds serve the needs of the tourists. Tourists here can enjoy swimming, surfing, sea skiing, or just a boat trip. Bigger or smaller ships, boats, yachts, motorboats, ferries come and go every day from Lefkas to all the neighboring islands. From Nidri one can visit Ithaca or Cephalonia and come back on the same day by ferry. Opposite of Nidri, Maduri, Aristotelis Valoritis' island, and Skopios, Aristotelis Onassis' island. Saint Kyriaki, a picturesque church where people of the island and tourists come to pray and to admire the breathtaking view of the Gulf. Maduri. On this island and in this house lived the great poet Aristotelis Valoritis. One can feel his presence everywhere around here. How many times have I asked the waves crashing on the desolate shores of mine about you? Nearby is Skopos, the island of the other Aristoteles. It's here that the Greek tycoon Onassis spent some of the happier moments of his life. It is here that he buried his son Alexander, killed in a plane crash. It is here that he was buried himself too, next to his son. And lately, his daughter Christina Onassis joined her father and brother. A tragic family indeed, but Skopos is always there, a symbol of their wealth and fame. The place where Christina Onassis' famous yacht was anchored together with the boats of the glamorous guests. The guest houses. The beach where Christina went swimming. Near the church of St. Kyriaki, on the top of the hill, there is the tomb of the German archaeologist Därpfeld. Därpfeld identified Lefkas as the Homeric Ithaca, home of Ulysses. In Idri, archaeologists brought to light the ruins of a prehistoric town. Pottery was found, together with other articles dating from that period, as well as from the Roman times. Near the village Hortata, the archaeologists discovered Cyclopean walls. The small village Kaligoni, off the town of Lefkas. It was here, during the 2nd millennium BC, that Nyrikos, the capital of the island and the broader area, was situated. It remained the capital until the 13th century AD, when its name was changed to Lefkas. A great number of findings has come to light, but still, the plain from Karyotis to the present capital hides many ancient treasures. Near the village Frini, remnants from prehistoric times were found. The same at Meganisi. Just over the village of Poros, the ruins of a tower built to protect the area in the 4th century BC. In the middle of the building, one can see the remnants of an old olive press. Many of the findings are in the Archaeological Museum of Lefkas. Amphoras, columns with the names of beloved or important ones. Pelias, Melandas, Damanetta, Cynenaries, buckles, brooches, rings, golden ornaments, smaller or bigger links of a historical chain lost in the midst of time. One of the most beautiful and picturesque mountain villages of Lefkas is Karia. Men and women, young and old, dance the dances of the region wearing the local costumes. Like the caryatids of Erechtheion on the Acropolis, the women of Caria carry buckets full of water on their heads, a time-old practice which has given a special grace to their movement. The monastery of Phaneromeni, place of peace and recollection, place of worship for the Christians. Lefkas is full of churches and country chapels. On every street, in every neighborhood, there is a church devoted to a saint. Built in Byzantine style, they're all historic monuments. Many of the icons here are considered to be priceless works of art, many of them the work of local artists who still carry on an age-old tradition.
Amen.
In the Folk Museum of Lefkas, one can see old Lefkadian costumes, articles of everyday use, utensils, tools, traditional embroidery, articles and images of another kind of life, of another time that is disappearing day by day, of a life which the inhabitants try to save together with their tradition and their roots. Across the bridge on the mainland, there is the castle of Santa Maura, which for a short period of time had given its name to the island. It's the most important monument from the Venetian times. It was built in 1300 AD from John Orsini, son-in-law of Duke Nicephorus I of Epirus. It's a beautifully built fortress which resisted invaders and conquerors who at different times dominated the island. During the Great Greek Revolution for independence from the Turks, the Lefkadians fighting from inside this castle resisted the attacks of the Turkish Albanians of Ali Pasha, offering to the fighters of Epirus and central Greece a precious shelter. And life goes on. Remember, somewhere in the world, somewhere in Europe, in Greece, there is a beautiful island called Lefkas.